What's good, everybody? It's your boy Matthew Bailey for MatthewBailey.com. Well, as you can tell by us being back in the poker room, can only mean one thing. I was able to go out and play another session out at Talking Stick. We're going to do a quick wrap-up. So, as you guys know, I'm attempting to get out and play a lot more poker. Like I said in my last video, this is my spring training, if you will. This is my chance to grind out as much as I possibly can before the WSOP. And since I'm not going to be able to play many events during the WSOP, I'm planning, like I said, on playing a lot more cash than anything. I figure this is the perfect opportunity. So, we're getting started. So I went and sat another 2-3 session, bought it for $300, and something absolutely amazing happened. Something I didn't know was possible happened. I actually started up. That's right, folks. I started up. Probably about 3 heads in or so, I ended up picking up a hand of Queen 5 on the big blind. Called the raise. It had been raised to, I want to say, like 12. And I believe one other person called, and then Small and I both called. The flop came out, put 4 to the flush. King, I want to say King, yeah, it was King 10, like 5, 6. No, it wasn't 5. King 10, 4, so I would say. So I had 4 to the flush. I checked. My thought was I could semi-bluff and possibly take the pot down there, but I don't know. I had a feeling, and I'd only been sitting at the table for probably about a couple minutes. This was the first hand that I actually played, probably one time around the table. But the one guy who had raised was a pretty aggressive guy, so I figured if I did bet, he would probably come over the top, and then I really had to decide if I wanted to play, my queen flush with a, backdoor straight draw. Did I really want to play that for, a lot of money? So I ended up checking. Went to the guy who originally had bet, and he actually made almost a pot-sized bet. I ended up... I probably shouldn't have made the call, first off. I'll say that. But I really kind of just felt that, you know what, it's coming this time. I'm going to take the shot at implied odds. Even with implied odds, I still really wasn't laying correct. But, I don't know, sometimes you just go with your gut. And that was one of those times I felt that it was going to hit. So I ended up calling. And the turn card, I called, another guy called. So now it's actually a decent sized pot. I end up, on the turn, it hits the spade of the 7, I believe. So boom, I hit my flush. Feeling pretty good. I'm assuming, nobody has the ace out there. Hopefully at least. I feel pretty solid about it. So now I decide I'm going to take a bet at this and see what happens. So I ended up betting. I believe I actually bet a little bit light. I think I bet like 35. And both of them called. Okay. River card hits, actually kind of killed my action a little bit. Now, it was another spade. So now there's 4 spades on board. And that scared me because now if somebody had, a hand like ace 10 with the ace of spades, and they were calling all the way down, or even ace queen with the ace of spades. I'm sorry, derp. I'm sorry, ace. What was that flop? I don't know. All I know is that it was a 10. I think it was king 10. I'm sorry, I was king 10. Yeah, because I did the straight draw. I'm sorry. It's been a long night. I'm still kind of excited from playing, so I apologize in advance. But ended up, I am worried about that ace, so I ended up checking on the river. And did I miss a little bit of money? Maybe, but in the same sense, I also felt safer about it. So I checked. The guy who had made the $40 bet on the flop rolled over 2 10s. So he'd spiked a set of 10s. So he was not too happy to see my queen deuce flush. Yeah, my bad. And the other guy had called, actually had a hand like, I believe he had top pair, but kind of a rag kicker, and he was just calling all the way down. Yeah, he did. He had like a king 8 or something, a king 9. It wasn't anything special of a hand. I mean, it was top pair, but... And it was not, neither one of his cards were a spade. So I ended up taking that pot down, and one pot in, I'm up like, that was almost $150 off of one pot. So I'm feeling great. I'm like, this is awesome. I feel, I'm loving it. A couple of hands later, I end up picking up another pot. This time I had top pair with, I believe I spiked a king. I had king 8 or king 9 offsuit. This would have been 2 hands later because I was on the button. And I made a raise pre-flop with it because that's one of my favorite hands because it had been folded around and guy right before me to act called. So I raised, both blinds called, and that guy folded. At that, I don't know why, he had good pot odds. King flopped, and I made a bet. It was called by one person. Turn card bricked. I bet again, and he folded. So I took down that pot. So I was up like 160 within 2 hands. And then I made a mistake. And this is the part of my game that I need to change so badly. I can play great poker, and so then I'll just make a dumb play. I'll make a dumb play overvaluing my jacks. I'll make a dumb play overvaluing my 2-pair. I'll make a dumb play, thinking, well, if I fire that third bullet, he's going to go away. He can't have something. And that's what I did this time. I picked up ace-jack suited, 2 away from the button. I'm sorry, no, I was 1 off the button. This was a round. It wasn't the next hand, it was another round. I pick up ace-jack of diamonds. Alright. Whatever. I'm going to raise, obviously. 2 people had called, so I put in a decent size raise and get 2 calls. One was the big blind. So I'd seen this guy playing a few hands before, and he's pretty aggressive. He's pretty all over the place. So really, I'm just hoping put some diamonds up there, we'll be golden, whatever. So the flop comes up 6, 3, 8, I believe. So not a great board for an ace-jack, but also not a horrible board because you're assuming somebody probably called you with, some picture cards or maybe a pocket pair, and hopefully it was low enough, and they have like pocket 7s. They're scared of the ace. I'm sorry, they're scared of the 8. Probably wouldn't happen, but whatever. So it's a decent enough flop to take a shot at. So he checks to me. I bet a decent bet. I believe pre-flop I actually raised it to 16, and 2 people had called. So we're at what, 48 in the pot, probably 50-ish, blinds. So I bet I think like 35, and he ends up calling. Now I don't. Part of me's saying he's got ace-king, and he's just calling that bet to try and take it away from you on the turn. The other part of me's saying he's got another pair, you can take this pot from him. So the turn card brings us another 6. So there's 2 6s on board, an 8 and a tray. Honestly, again, I feel that if he has ace-king, I feel I can get him to muck if I fire again. Or, if I continue on my aggression, he'll maybe wilt. I don't know really what I was thinking, to be quite honest. I'm not even going to bullshit you guys. I don't know. I saw chips. I let my ego get in the way, I guess, which is the worst thing you could do at a poker table. The absolute worst thing. And he checks again to me. And I bet like 65. Shit, maybe even more than that. It might have been 75. And he thinks about it for a couple minutes, thinks about it for, not even a couple minutes, for a second, he calls. Okay. So now I'm really thinking, all I've got is ace high. I gotta take this pot down on the river, praying I hit an ace. I don't. It's a king, actually. A king ball pulls off. And at this point, no, I'm sorry, no, not a king ball. I'm sorry, no, I'm sorry. A 10 pulls off. A 10 pulls off. So it was 6, 6, 3, 8, 10. So yeah, the 9-7 straight got there, but 6, 3, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, that's what it was. So I was replaying it in my head. There were a lot of hands I played tonight, so it's kind of jumbled up there. But I end up thinking, you know what? If he's got ace king, I could push this hand. I could take this hand away. And I still was just telling myself he had ace king. I don't know why I was telling myself that, but I was. So he checks to me again, and I end up Yeah. For those of you who don't know, that's 145. Granted, I'm pretending they're fives. So these obviously aren't nickels, so it wouldn't be that. But I bet 145. And it was a decent sized bet into, what the pot was. But again, in my mind, I'm saying he's got ace king, he's going to muck. And he thinks about it for a minute, then he says, wonder what your kicker is. And he calls. And I just got unlucky and played a hand badly. And he had 6-5 of diamonds, actually. So why couldn't some diamonds have hit? So he has the trip sixes. And that just destroys my stack. I lost, you got to figure, 12 pre-flop, 35 on the flop, 65, so there's 100. I've lost about 260, 270 in that pot alone. Horrible play. But at the same time, if he had ace-king, and I had gotten him to muck on the river, that would have been a great play. But I overvalued my ace-jack. I should have just let it go after I took the shot on the flop and it failed, rather than pulling the trigger. But I did get a little ego blinded, and I had seen him play pretty crazy earlier. So I just really felt, he'd been really aggressive earlier the few times that I'd seen him play. Well, not the few times. He was playing a lot of hands, and I really just felt that I could take this pot from him. I'm going to do this. And I didn't. I did not. And so next thing I know, after I just, praised myself for getting up after, the first however many hands, I was so excited. I was so happy. I was up. I ended up dumping more than half my stack. So now I'm down to a meager stack and a half of red. And decided it was time to buckle down. And it's funny, a lot of times when I make a really bad play, I get really despondent to the point that I almost should just get up because I know it's not going to change. This time, it wasn't even that I felt that. I just felt like I was just like made a mistake. Time to get down to business. And I felt good. I felt like I was playing good poker and I was ready to grind it out. So I end up hovering right around the same amount, kind of up and down from 100 down to like, I want to say 85, whatever. And I ended up picking up pocket aces on this small blind. Goes around, it had been called. And mind you, at this time, I started the hand at about 120 chips. Got around, it had been raised, and then another guy made it, the guy on the dealer button made it 25 after it had been raised to about 12. So I ended up with my aces, I ended up shoving, and I had about $1.25 or $1.30 to, I'm sorry, no, I had 115 because it was 90 more to call. And so it goes back around to two people who called pre-flop fold, pre-raise fold, the guy who made the original raise fold, and the guy who made the re-raise, he looks at me for a while, and he's looking at me, and I know he's a regular there. If he's not a dealer, I know he plays a lot there. And I really thought he was going to call. I really thought he was going to snap it off. But I just kept a straight poker face, didn't make any moves, nothing, just kept my head still. And he ended up folding, which kind of sucks, but it was still a decent pot. It was probably a $45 pot or so. So I was able to take that down. So that got me back up to, about 170 or so. A few heads after that, I picked up pocket sevens. And I don't know why, I just had this feeling. Well, I'll let you know the action of it. So I had called with my sevens. I believe I was under the gun. No, I wasn't under the gun. I'm sorry. I was under the gun plus 4. Plus 3 or 4. I made the call. Ended up guy right one after me who'd been an aggressive player. He had these twin towers, chips like stacked up like this. You can barely see from behind him of nickels. And he'd been really aggressive, but he was also, playing pretty well. But I just decided, I was like, I have a good feeling about my sevens. Let's see what happens. So he raises. 2 other people call, and it comes to me, and I call. So the flop comes out, Jack 10-4. And I end up checking to him, and he makes a bet. And I don't know why, I just felt that he missed. And so I ended up calling. Turn card comes a Jack 10, 4, 6. Came a 6. So I wish it would have been 1 up, but it came a 6. So I again check. This time, confusingly, he checks. So I thought, okay, he's probably giving up the pot. We'll see what happens on the river. I thought maybe he had a 10, and possibly I'm just trying to check it down. But I really kind of did feel that I was good. I don't know. I just had that feeling that I was good. The way he was playing it a little bit more aggressively, a little bit more arrogantly almost, trying to make me feel as though he was Mr. Big Dog on it and whatever. So river card came out, a queen, which was kind of a scary card. Obviously Ace King just got there. Obviously, if you were sitting on 9-8, that just got there. So it was a weird card for me to see, and therefore I just decided I'm not going to bet at this. We'll see what happens. So I end up checking to him, and pretty quickly he ends up grabbing, I want to say a good like 65 or so, and just kind of flings it in there, really arrogantly. And I end up thinking about it for a minute, and I say to him, like, you don't have it. And I called. He didn't even show, but I called with my pocket 7s. And everybody at the table was just like, oh, great read, whatever. He didn't even show what he had. But I ended up taking that pot down. So that one got me back pretty decently up. Not quite to where I was, but pretty decently up. So then it got to a hand where this guy had constantly been straddling. And then each time he would straddle, he would pop it when it got to him. And of course, that was in my big blind. Previously, there had been somebody between us, but he ended up leaving. So now, next to me, it's in my big blind. So I can't tell you the number of times I would call a straddle, he'd pop it to 35, and I'd end up letting it go. So finally, I just decided, I'm calling this guy's raise. No matter what it is, this is what I'm doing, I'm sick of being pushed around. So, and I even said that to him, one of these times I'm going to call, you better watch out. So, comes around, 5 people call pre-flop of the straddle. He pops it to 35. One guy calls, the guy literally right next to him, and then it comes around to me. And I even looked, no, I'm sorry, another person called, another guy called. So there were 2 people that had called already, and it came around to me. And I even said to him, I'm telling you right now, I shouldn't be calling this. And I apologize, but it's going to hit. I had King 5. I had King 5 offsuit. And I just said it to him. I said, it's going to hit. Flop comes out. King 9-2. Rainbow. Literally, I just take action. And I probably could have gotten a bet out of it. I probably could have let him bet and I could have raised. But I'm actually talking with one of my buddies, and I just grabbed 10 and just kind of put him in the pot. And I'm 50. I'm yeah, I warned you guys. I told you, something like that. And then they actually both ended up folding, and I took down that pot. So that pot got me back up above stuck and actually a little bit of a profit. So that was pretty solid. I got up. I was up about $50, $60 after that hand, and was feeling pretty good. Really felt like I was playing some good poker. I felt like I was on for the most part. So ended up, had another hand where I re-raised somebody all in with Ace King. They ended up letting it go, so I took that hand down. And then I had another hand that I made a pretty good play on. I had a pair of 9s. I had a pair of 8s. And this guy that I hadn't really had much, going back and forth with, I hadn't really been going back and forth with him. He ends up making a decent raise. I called it. It was just him and I. And the flop, I want to say the flop had 1 paint and then 2 rags. It was like a Jack Trey Deuce or Jack 4-5, something like that. And I checked to him. He bet. I called. Turn card hit. He ends up checking. I checked. He checked. And it was kind of playing out the same way that this other hand had played. And I really did feel that my snowmen were good. So, river card hits a king. So now there's a king and a jack, and then 3 rags, 3 bricks. So I end up checking to him again, and he bets a bet of 60. And I just look at him and I say, you didn't get there. There were 2 clubs on the flop, and nothing paid out. and I just had this feeling that he was on the flush draw. That's why he betted on the flop. Figured he'd get a free card on the turn because he didn't want to get re-raised. Though he could have semi-bluffed it there. And then since he missed, he knew he had to take a shot. Ends up taking a shot at it. I call him down, and sure enough, he flips over like the ace, I want to say like ace 6 of clubs, and so it didn't get there. And ended up taking down a pretty decent pot there. Then next thing I know, I'm up to 500, so I'm up 200, 2 bills, and then had a really solid pot. I picked up with jacks. It had been a guy had raised with I want to say he raised it to 12. I just called. Flop came out undercards. It came out 10 like 10-5-3 I think or 10-5-2 rainbow. He ends up betting. I actually end up raising, and he let it go. So that was a decent pot. I really don't know, where he was at with that. I'm assuming an ace, whatever. Ended up picking up pocket fours, and I had a fun little back-to-back run here in pocket fours, and it was actually against the same guy that I had called down earlier. End up spiking a 4, get paid off the entire way down. He ended up having top pair. The flop came up like queen 4 deuce or queen 4 tray, and so I had middle set, and he had like queen jack or queen 10, and all he showed was the queen at the end. He didn't even show the other card, and so I ended up picking up a good pot off of him. And then the very next hand, I picked up pocket fours again, and I ended up just calling a raise, and then I let out on the flop. I believe I was in the small blind on that hand. And so I let out, no, I could have been a small blind. I'm sorry, I don't remember what position I was. I apologize. And I ended up leading out, though. I know that. Before it got around to the raiser, I let out, and I took that pot down, and I showed the fours again. I said I only did that because I got the fours again. And ended up getting, with that pot, I was over 600. So after nickel and diamond, chopping a little bit here, chopping a little bit there, I ended up getting up to about 650 or so. But sadly, those kind of started to dwindle a little bit. I called a flush draw that I probably, well, I can't say I shouldn't have, but it did get there. I called a straight draw. I had a double belly buster straight draw. I called 2 bets with that, and it didn't get there. So I lost a few hands and ended up, I had 625 left, at least I thought. So I racked up, grabbed my 6 racks, 6 stacks of red, and take it over to the cage. Well, sadly, at some point when I was shuffling my checks or taking down a big pot, I miscounted my stacks of nickels, and it was only in 95s instead of hundreds. So I ended up having to take 1 off of all 6. So I ended up not exactly where I thought I was. I didn't quite double my money. But I still, as far as I'm concerned, I walked 3 bills up. So definitely was good to get a good winning session under the belt. And a session that I felt like I was playing pretty good in. I made a couple really good laydowns. Actually, a couple times with top pair that I'm happy about. There was only one hand that I was kind of kicking myself about where I would have turned a boat. But it would have required me to call a pre-flop raise out of position with Jack 7. So, that's not really something you could do. But of course, in a cash game, you're thinking, well, of course I can. It's cash game. So that's something I would have been able to get paid off pretty well. But at the end of the day, I was happy. It was a good winning session. Ended up pulling 3 bills down. And, hopefully I can pull some more sessions like that, get ready for the World Series. And who knows, maybe I can pull sessions like that in those series. Hopefully. The goal. So, just wanted to give you guys a quick wrap up. I do apologize for going on so much, but really there's no way to give a short answer of some of those hands. I wanted to do some breakdown, and I've had a lot of people that do comment that they like my hand analysis. So, hopefully it wasn't exhausting. I know I keep going back to that same comment, but I felt it. So, honestly, I want to make sure that I do what my viewers want. So, at the end of the day, I just want to say thank you to everybody for checking out my videos. Hopefully you like my poker breakdown, get some information in terms of how the hand played. If you have any questions or you think I should have played something a different way, let me know. I'm always curious. Poker's something you can never have too much knowledge, so I'm always curious. So, until the next video, I'm officially signing off. It's your boy Matthew Bailey for MatthewBailey.com. And until the next video, as always, check out the rest of my videos on YouTube. You can search for Matthew Bailey Poker. And when you get there, like, comment, and subscribe. Follow your boy's videos on MatthewBailey.com. Click on the video blog tab. Of course, you can follow me up on Twitter. Follow me at Matthew Bailey. And like my Facebook page, search for Matthew Bailey Poker. So, till the next video, I'm signing off. Peace out, y'all.